themselves. And we are going to record this presentation so that potentially other new families could view it later. So
Okay.
hopefully that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
And we have met through email. I'm Christy Miller. I'm the executive director. And if the other staff members want to go ahead and introduce yourselves with your name and your role, please.
I'm Ilana Nishelski. I'm the assistant principal at VITA.
I'm Kirk Mummert, and I'm the health and physical education teacher here at VITA.
I am Molly Elvin. I'm the 3rd grade English, math, and science teacher.
I am Minerva Medina. I am the bilingual 5th and 6th grade math teacher.
I am Ms. Rufi Sayed. I am English kindergarten assistant teacher.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So the purpose of this presentation is to tell new families about VITA Charter School, to try to give an overview of what our school is all about. And I'll be co-presenting with Ms. Nishelski. As we go through the slides, I've invited the other staff members to jump in and share anything they'd like to contribute. And we'll pause at the end and give you a chance to ask questions as well. So some of the pictures you're going to see throughout this presentation are pre-COVID. So just be warned and don't be alarmed when you see children without masks. This is not what it looks like this year. So we will go ahead and get started. And we like to start out by talking a little bit about what is a dual language program, also known as two-way immersion, also known as bilingual education. And what you can see right here is known as the 3 pillars of dual language. This doesn't come from VITA. This is sort of best practice out there among some of the leading experts in dual language programs. So these 3 pillars are showing what we really believe in at VITA. And first one has to do with the bilingualism and biliteracy, which is what we're all about for our students. We want them to leave after 6th grade able to read and comprehend both English and Spanish, and be able to speak and write as well. So those 4 little emojis you see represent the 4 domains of language: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We also want our students to be on or above grade level in all of their content areas. So that middle pillar is grade level academic achievement. And we are responsible for teaching the state standards at VITA as a public charter school in Pennsylvania. And our 3rd pillar is sociocultural competence. And that is that we want our students to be very comfortable interacting with other people who come from all kinds of backgrounds, not only different linguistic backgrounds and cultural backgrounds, but also students and people of a variety of religions, sexual orientation, others with disabilities, families who have privilege, families from different socioeconomic statuses. It's sort of the social justice element of a program like this, where we really do try to elevate the Spanish language and different cultures to the same level as English. And our vision statement, which is shown here, this really is the original vision of VITA Charter School from when our school was founded more than 10 years ago. And the first 3 bullets represent those 3 pillars of dual language. The last 2 elements of our vision, we want our students to be real world problem solvers. So we want them to be able to apply what they learn to the world around them. And we also want our students to be of healthy body and mind. And so even in the original founding of VITA, there's been a focus on making healthy choices. There's been a focus on not only physical health, but also social and emotional well-being. And you're going to see this in a few minutes when we talk about some of our other programs that we have at VITA. But this is something that we're really very proud of, is the wellness initiatives that we do have at the school.
The benefits of bilingualism are many. To capture a few of them, academic benefits include, of course, the development of 2 languages, reading and writing in those 2 languages, the social benefits of expanding a student's self-concept and also through social cultural competency, their understanding of their relationship to themselves and others, what is shared and what is different. Economic benefits for a bilingual person entering the workforce, and of course, cognitive benefits as students transfer and understand how to relate one language to the other. There are a few research papers that are up on the website that show the real benefits cognitively of metalinguistics, of students relating their languages. What's unique within our model is that we have a 50-50 split. That means that students have instruction 50% of the time in English and 50% of the time in Spanish. And within this model, we see all individuals within the building as learners on a continuum of language. So if a student enters the school and their family speaks English and Spanish at home, there is still a continuum they are on that spectrum. Maybe they feel more comfortable reading, for example, in English, and maybe they feel more comfortable reading in Spanish. But all of those different relationships to language help us understand where they are in their progression as a language learner. And that comes back to our metalinguistic focus, our looking at language and the relationship between languages as a central element of our model. Also unique, but also consistent between dual language models is that we find that students develop the strongest bilingualism in models that last for at least 6 years. So ideally, a student would enter in kindergarten and they would progress through a dual language or a bilingual model all the way up through 5th grade. We also every single day have literacy instruction in English and literacy instruction in Spanish, and that is critical for the success of a dual language model.
And I'll just add a little bit to what Ilana was saying as far as our model. And when we say that we like to have a balance of students in all of the classrooms who come from both, English speaking homes and Spanish speaking homes, that's really critical because the kids are models of the language for their peers. And it's really phenomenal to see how our students, all of our students are learning a second language, and they're learning that language in an academic setting. So they all get a chance to shine or to be the experts in half of their day when they're in the classroom for the language that is their native language. And then they all get to be the learner in the other classroom where some of their classmates are the experts and the models. So it's really beautiful how that plays out. And we really do value kids interacting with one another, kids talking to one another and collaborating. That's the best way for them to practice their new language and to hear others using the language. What you're seeing here are our shared values. We revisited our school-wide values last year. We went through our 3-year comprehensive planning process, and this involved board members, teachers, administrators, even some parents and community members. And ultimately, even our students had an opportunity to vote on what we believed were our values. And these are the ones we came up with. We value respect, teamwork, empathy, and fun. So this is something we can all get behind. And we weren't sure about adding fun in there, but the students insisted that had to be part of our values. So we agreed. Next, you can see healthy lifestyles. And I was mentioning, this is a part of our school vision. And this year, I have to say, I'm extremely proud because we've revitalized a lot of the, some of the original activities and ideas that went into the healthy lifestyles focus of VITA many years ago. So what you're seeing here, there's students having a virtual yoga class, which we've been able to do this year. We have had mindfulness opportunities for our students. And you also see a picture of a child. This is one of our distance learners. who's actually engaged in an online cooking class virtually with a partnership we have through the Arts Council. And then the child has written out the recipe by hand. So healthy lifestyles includes thinking carefully about what we're eating and learning about different foods that are healthy, taking care of our bodies. Of course, our physical education classes with Mr. Mummert, which the students have twice per 6-day cycle, and even including our initiative with our school gardens and teaching kids to grow healthy foods and how to prepare and consume them. So we're really happy that we've been able to bring this back to the school, and always looking for new partnerships and new ways to do this. Right now, we just started a fresh fruit and vegetable partnership where our students, all of our students in the building, 3 days per week get to taste a different fresh fruit or vegetable. And then they get to learn about the some fun facts about the produce and the nutritional value. And then we also wanted to just briefly share Responsive Classroom. This is a school-wide focus that is sort of our approach to supporting our students and staff with our social and emotional environment in the school. It's sort of not really a disciplinary approach, but it's how we create an environment where everybody feels safe and welcome, and we learn how to cooperate, resolve conflicts, and just take a part in making a warm classroom community and school-wide community. And if you happen to look up Responsive Classroom, they have a wonderful website with a lot of resources, but it essentially is a way that helps us really focus on positive relationships, giving positive feedback to the students, and then teaching them natural consequences when they are struggling to make good choices.
Our brief but dense history here of Vida Charter School includes its founding in 2009 and most recently our 10-year renewal as a charter school. One thing that makes us very unique in the context of Adams County, or even outside of Adams County, is the fact that in addition to being a dual language school, we're also a charter school. What that means for us practically is that every 5 years, we have 2 authorizing districts, Hanover Public School District and Gettysburg Area School District, that confirm that we can continue as a charter school. They work extensively with us, looking at all of our documentation, and we are in dialogue over the course of a good deal of a year to confirm that everything is in order before we are renewed. So we were very happy to be renewed with flying colors in 2019. And we would have another renewal that would be upcoming 5 years from 2019. We have been in our current building, which is a beautiful, beautiful space located close to Gettysburg College campus. It's the Eisenhower building, and we rent it from Gettysburg Area School District. We will be continuing in that building for the foreseeable future. Our demographic data, and this is a resource I would encourage anyone to check out, can be found on Future Ready Index. Future Ready Index is a database that is Pennsylvania state specific, and it is a way to look at student data, whether that data is demographic, academic, or socioeconomic across the state. So looking at our most recent data, you're able to see that about half of our school qualifies for free or reduced lunch. About 25% of our students are identified as English learners. About 10% of our population receives special education services or has an individualized education plan. And about 5% of our students are homeless or do not have consistent housing. As you can look at our race and ethnicity data, about 60% of our students would be identified as Hispanic, and about 33%, 32.5% of our population is white, with a lot of diversity there in addition to those 2 larger categories. A typical day looks different across the building, but this sample schedule shows you for a student entering into the school building between 8 and 8:30, they would typically go downstairs to breakfast or go to morning recess or to their classroom. Just aligning up with our responsive classroom school-wide model, we have morning meeting where students learn how to relate to each other and develop their relationships with each other in the classroom. During this time, they greet each other, they do an activity together, and they enter into instruction all as a group. And that happens every single day. If an individual begins their day in English, they will begin their day in English for an entire semester. English instruction across the building is paired with other content area instruction. And we'll talk in a moment about what that looks like from one grade to the next. But in this model, a student would be beginning their day with English, and that English ELA content would be folded into social studies. After their block of instruction that took place in English, they would have a recess and lunch. We really try our best at the school to protect recess, to fold in again with our Healthy Lifestyles mission. And then they would continue on into Spanish class. If their social studies instruction is in English, then their science and math instruction would be in Spanish. And they would receive that instruction. All of that content would be delivered in Spanish to develop academic language in both of their languages. And then they would also have, on a 6-day cycle, so 2 times in 6 days, they would have art, music, or PE/healthy lifestyles, after which they would depart the school. And they would, or they would go to the after school program, which we do in collaboration with a local organization. I know we have a lot of staff on this call. Is there anyone who'd like to add to this typical day?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So
I am going to stop record for just a moment if I can.
So I know that the kids have ELA. Is there an equivalent into Spanish for that? So they have actual Spanish class. Okay.
Yes. Literacy instruction, writing instruction, and all of the other elements that you would expect in an ELA classroom, including speaking, listening. All of those are expected components of Spanish instruction throughout the building, from kindergarten all the way up through 6th.
Okay.
What's unique is that we try very hard to tie those language skills or those language arts skills to the content of science or social studies.
Okay.
So that's one way that we make that period really robust academically. But absolutely, they should be reading, they should be writing, they should be speaking, and they should be receiving and processing information in both languages every day.
Okay.
And this gives you a sense of what that tied content looks like from one grade to the next. This is Vida Charter School's language and content allocation plan, which shows you that sample, that typical schedule would be how a student would begin their education here at Vida, with social studies taking place in English and then shifting to Spanish language the next year, then coming back to English, then shifting over to Spanish. And likewise, science and math tied together would shift and be in the inverse language the following year. And we do that again because this is the way that we know students can develop the necessary academic content, the language skill that they need in order to actually be a bilingual person. And of course, we also have health and physical education, art and music that are for all students throughout this entire, K-6 experience at Vida.
Something I will add really quickly about the specials. I feel it's pretty unique as a specials teacher to see all of my students twice every 6 days. The school I student taught at, that wasn't the case. It was once every 6 days. And I've even heard of some schools, school districts seeing their kids in specials once every like 10 or 12 days. So we really get a lot of good quality time with the students as well in PE, art, and music. I feel it's a good way to kind of help make our students really well-rounded. And it's just really cool to have that extra time with them that isn't as much of a thing in the other schools. So I just thought I'd add that too.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that, Kirk.
And I'll just add too, because you asked about Spanish literacy, we don't have a slide. We don't talk normally in these presentations about assessments, but just as any elementary school is sort of constantly assessing kids with, internal school assessments, at VITA, we collect data on our students' literacy performance in both languages. So at a minimum 3 times per year, beginning, middle, and end of year, we're doing reading assessments for English. We're also doing them for Spanish, just to make sure kids are on target, they're progressing, they're growing their skills. And then we do the same for math. We have math assessments 3 times per year. And we do send that, we're actually just now sending that data home with our families for the mid-year, so that we're letting families know if kids are on target, and if kids are needing extra support in any of those areas, we're making sure that that's planned and purposeful based on the kids' needs. So that's kind of what this slide is getting at. That first box says intervention. So very similar to what many schools are doing. We do have a team of what we call interventionists that help us to look at our student data, work very closely with all of the teachers to see if there are students who need extra help. And that could be academic, or it could be for behavior reasons, or it could be social skills that they need to build to work better with their peers. So we do make sure that kids are making progress according to state standards and what we as a team know their development needs to be, even in the Spanish language. And so some students do receive pull-out support, where an interventionist might pull the kids for small group instruction that's geared towards their level, or our interventionists also push into the classroom and will work with small groups of students. So that's a very well thought out program that we have at VITA, especially with the 2 languages. We also have a full-time school counselor who supports, again, works with the teachers, works in the classroom with students, works individually with students who need different counseling support. And our counselor also works closely with families who need extra help. And then we have a full-time learning support teacher. So we do have students with special needs who receive individualized education for literacy or math. And we do contract with a speech therapist who comes to support students who need speech support. We just like to talk a little bit about how we're handling COVID, because schools are all kind of doing different things. So this is where I get to brag about our teachers and staff this year, because we have been open successfully since mid-August, full-time for all of our students whose families want them to attend in person. We do have some students who, by family choice, are distance learners, so they're learning completely from home. And our teachers and staff have really been very successful in putting into place health and safety measures to make sure that we're limiting any potential exposure to the virus. So since we started, we've all been wearing masks all the time. We have been keeping kids separated safely, especially at lunch when they are having, when they're having breakfast or lunch, we make sure they're 6 feet apart. Inside the classrooms, students are not always 6 feet apart, but we're keeping them safe, keeping them separated as best we can, with young kids especially, making sure they're washing their hands, using the hand sanitizer, and doing a lot of communication with the families, making sure families are keeping an eye on their students' health, checking for any symptoms, keeping their kids home, of course, when they're not well, and keeping their kids home if they have a suspected case of COVID at home, or if they think their child has been around somebody with the virus. So we have a dashboard on our school, on our homepage, that you can take a look at. We have had a few cases in the building, unfortunately, some staff and students who have tested positive over the school year, but we have just been very fortunate, and it's been all hands on deck. I'm really, really proud of every single one of our staff members and teachers and our families and our kids who have just been rolling with it. They are they're just very, very impressive with how everybody's working together and making it happen. It was definitely hard at the beginning of the year, but I feel pretty confident we're getting into warmer weather and be able to go outside again and continue to keep everybody safe. And the last piece we'll share that you may know already, but we are in our enrollment period for next year. And our kindergarten, all of our kindergarten enrollment forms are up on our website. They're there in English and Spanish, but we're happy to mail those out to families too if necessary. Our lottery date is technically March 15th. And what that means is if we have more applications for kindergarten next year than seats by the date of March 15th, then at that point we have to hold a lottery. And with the lottery, we have to prioritize first. We have a policy that kind of outlines the priority. So first priority is to siblings of currently enrolled students. So incoming kindergartners who already have a sibling at VITA would get first priority. After that, we're required to admit students who live in our chartering districts, which is the Gettysburg School District and the Hanover Public School District. And then after that, it's random. So among those applications that we have in hand or in the building by March 15th, that's how we would do the lottery, and any child who wasn't admitted would go on a waiting list. Right now, it looks very unlikely that we will have 44 applications for kindergarten by that lottery date. So we just always encourage families to please apply by that date. After that date, it's literally first come, first served. And that even goes for our siblings of our current students. So, you know, once we hit the 15th of March, we start to inform families that their child has been accepted, or if we needed to, that their child has been on a wait list. And then we just start collecting the rest of the paperwork we need and inviting families for events at the school. So I'm trying to think of what else I can say about enrollment and lottery. Oh, I wanted to talk about older students because I know, Amy, you have an older child as well. So according to our policy, we technically don't have to enroll students after January for the current year. We have enrolled kids though in the past, just in the interest of getting them in and getting them practice for, you know, especially practice with Spanish before the next school year begins. So as long as we have space, we have admitted students at any point in the school year. And we don't have any upper grade level classes right now that are full. But what possibly could happen next year, you know, if we, depending upon how many students re-enroll, if we are reducing the number of classes per grade, we could have full classrooms for some of the upper grades, and we just don't exactly know what those numbers will look like. But in general, you know, we do, as I've shared with some families, it's hard for kids to come into a dual language program above second grade if the child doesn't already know some Spanish, if they aren't comfortable or don't have an understanding of Spanish. It's just more challenging for some students. As a public school, we don't say no. We can't completely turn a family away as long as we have space in our classrooms. So if any family does have the right to enroll their child at the upper grades, whether or not the child has proficiency in Spanish. We just like to be honest with families and let you know it's, you know, it's fourth grade level content. It's fourth grade level math in Spanish and science in Spanish and literacy. We will do everything that we can to support a child who comes in at a higher grade and really needs to build that background and build some of those foundational skills. We have amazing Spanish teachers. We have a Spanish specialist who works one-on-one with kids. And so we have seen it, we have seen it happen. We have seen kids come in the later years or the higher grade levels and be successful as long as the kids are motivated and they won't easily get frustrated, being immersed in Spanish half the day, then, it really can be a benefit to them. And that really is it for